Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Kacee Bohle, and I am so excited to have this conversation. We are going to talk about money mindset, and she has some tactical tips for everyone who has any kind of struggle with money on how to get just your mindset and your habits in a way that you can take charge of your money instead of allowing your money to control you. So, Kacee, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here. You are the first guest of our Recharge and Recenter. And just share with everybody a little bit about you.
Yes. Thank you, Fernanda. I didn't know that I was the first guest.
You were the first guest. I had guests on my other podcast, but on the Recharge and Recenter, we are on episode 6. I think this is episode 6. So you are the first guest of it.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Yes. So I love helping people kind of work through mindset limitations, and thinking about money in particular seems to be the root of a lot of that. And so once they get over that hump, they can start re-evaluating the limiting mindset or the beliefs that they have about all sorts of areas in their life too. So I coach people through that, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
Yeah, I am so excited. We've been talking for the past hour, and I am so excited that you all get to hear what she has to share. But first, she is 8 months pregnant, and she's worried that she may lose her breath. So if she's breathing hard, you know that it's the baby.
Yes. Sometimes she's in the rib cage, sometimes she's not. So.
Yeah, I've been there 3 times, and it's not fun. It's more fun when they come out.
Yes, absolutely.
So, can you tell a little bit about how did you find out that the money issues was really in the mindset and not how we were acting?
It's a really vulnerable story to tell, but I grew up on a farm in the Midwest, and I think a lot of my limiting beliefs stemmed from that. And, most farming operations, they get an income one time a year, and they have to figure out how to make that work throughout the rest of the year. And I think somehow that seeped into my brain. And so I thought, okay, I earned an income. Now I have to hang on to it. And I was super scared to take that money and invest it or spend things. Or I got to the point where it's like, okay, here I got a lump of money. What can I go spend it on? Now that I have money, it was burning this hole in my pocket. It was one extreme to the other. There was no strategy. There was no thought behind it. It was, I'm either going to go spend all this money now because I've got it and I haven't ever had it before. So I got really excited. Or it was, I can't spend any of it because I may not get it again.
Yeah.
And so I started going through the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University classes and utilizing some of his tools to understand, how can I put a name to every dollar? How can I be really strategic with this money? Because I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of feeling stressed out and feeling like I don't have any control over anything. And so I went and got certified as a financial coach because I wanted the free subscription to Financial Peace University and all the tools that Dave Ramsey had in their packet. And so that was a really affordable way for me to, like I said, I wanted to save the money. So it's like, okay, if I become a coach, if I lead some of these Financial Peace University webinars, that I can get free access to it. And so that's where my mind went. And then as I went through those coaching programs, that's where I found the love for coaching other people. And I realized I like coaching people in all areas, not just finances. And so today, that's what I focus on, is just the mindset in general, overcoming the hump, getting that goal set and figuring out, how do I work through this process rather than just winging it or doing nothing at all because you're paralyzed in, I don't know what to do. So that's how I got started. And today, overcoming that mindset of the money and the growth versus fixed mindset has sort of seeped into different areas of my life too. It's how I interact with my husband differently, how I am as an employee, how I am as a business owner, how I am as just a wife, mother, daughter, friend, whatever. And I'm noticing that every single day I'm learning something new. I would never say that I've perfected it because everything around me is ever changing as well.
Yeah.
And so this is just something, it's a daily choice to say, how am I choosing to think about this? And so I love helping other people think about that as well.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that when you get better in one area of life, it kind of everything else kind of start getting better at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I found, and I'm thinking of a question that will help people understand where they are in their mindset with money. So, what would you say to a person that says, "Well, I just don't make enough money. Like I have my paycheck, and there's no way that they don't give a raise until you get like 3 years in the company. Like they already know that there's going to be no money coming to them." And they just say, it's not my mindset. It's just that I'm like stuck in here. Or people that say, which I've been there, like I make a good amount of money, but I feel like they all disappear. Like once I receive it, the money, once I get paid, it all goes to everything. And it's not my fault. It's just there's a lot of bills to pay and taxes and gas is ridiculous. Like there's always things happening in the world that we can justify. For a person that don't see how their mindsets interfere into that, how would you coach them to start seeing that way, that they have more control than they think they do?
Well, here's 2 points that I would think about. Obviously, we just touched on growth versus fixed mindset, right? Like, so growth mindset meaning I have these resources, things come to me, I'm resourceful, I know how to continue to move forward. Whereas that fixed mindset means this is the way it is. There's no other option. But then also point number 2 is, are you having that victim mentality? Or there's a book called Victim, Survivor, Navigator, and I think it's Brian McKnight. You'll have to quote me on that. But he talks about, are you someone that's the victim? Are you constantly having bad things happening to you? Or is that just where you are? Are you the survivor, meaning you're willing to just do whatever it takes to survive? Like you're not thinking growth, you're not thinking strategy, you're just going.
Yeah.
Or are you the navigator, meaning I'm willing to take the time to navigate through this in all the right ways? And so there's a couple of different ways you can think about that. And how I coach people on this is I first get a feel for where they fall in that, right? So if you're someone with a fixed mindset, you're more than likely going to be one of those like victim mentality types of people. Like, I don't make enough money. No one wants to give me a raise. Bad things keep happening to me. Like it's just, they're sulking in it. And
the economy, the president.
Yes, there's always someone to blame other than yourself. And then when you talk about someone like that navigator, where it's like, well, what are you doing to combat that, right? Like, I like to think about if for some reason I know my electric bill is due and it's a $200 electric bill and I only have $100 of it, how are you going to come up with that extra $100? Mm-hmm. And in my mind, growing up on a farm, like we didn't have the choice. Like your bills had to be paid. You had work you had to do, whether you wanted to get up and do it or not. Stuff had to get done.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you wanted to take the day off. There's no sick days. Like the crop needs to be harvested. You had to get up and you had to do the thing.
Yeah.
And, our family was very much so like, if you had time to sit around and watch TV, you had time to go top water. You had time to go clean a bin out, or you had time to go, work on equipment, whatever it was. Like, that's just how I saw my parents, right? That's how they raised us. And I see that in me and my sisters as well. As like, we have a hard time sitting down and resting. And so to me, to see someone say like, oh, I have this bill due. Well, how are you going to come up with that extra $100? Like, go find a way, sell something. What can you do for somebody else to earn some money? Like, having handouts or just asking for prayers to me doesn't always like work. Sometimes it's like, go do something, like be active, like use your resources. And so I navigate that very gracefully and with compassion, because I know a lot of people have never had to think about that stuff before. They weren't raised the same way I was. They may have never been told, hey, here's some options to consider. Here's how to critically think through that. And a lot of people have never been shown how to critically think. They just know what they know. And so my job is to guide them. I don't ever want to be the hero in somebody else's story. I want to guide them, and I want them to learn the lessons and then understand, oh, I did this thing and here's the result I got from it.
Yeah, and each person has a different story. So it's impossible for you to know the story of each person before you have the conversation with them. Yes. So they need to dig deep into their own mindset and see, do I do that? And they need to be their own police sometimes, right?
It is so painful and awkward and ugly and very messy, but it is the only way to like have those aha moments where you're like, oh, here's why this happened to me, or here's why I was believing this thing, because you did the work to go back to the way you were raised, the culture that you were around, the people that you were around. Like, there's so many influences. Today, social media trains us to think certain ways. And so I think once you understand the root of why you're thinking those ways, you can begin to make little adjustments at a time. It's not something that can happen overnight.
Yeah.
But over time, you can start to realize, oh, yeah, here's why I did this. And next time I'm going to change it by this one little tweak.
Yes. And I love you mentioned like just people just complaining or asking for prayers. And I think I always like to talk about faith here too a little bit. And I know a lot of people that watch this kind of share similar faith than I do. And I feel like a lot of people just expect God to just like send out of the sky a pile of money or something. And if you look at the story of God, since day 6, day 7, it was a rest day. But since then, everything that God did on earth, he used humans to move. And that's if you were a person to read the Bible, you will see that through the whole Bible, like God used humans to move. So when we pray and ask God, okay, we need more money, the way that God's going to help us is give us opportunity to move.
Yes.
And a lot of times people don't see that. They just say, I'm going to sit here and wait on the Lord. But the Lord is giving you plenty of opportunities to move and make that money or improve. And that can be, like you said, with any areas of your life. Oh, I'm sick. How long have been since you took a walk or ate a broccoli? 7 years? Yeah, maybe that's why you're sick. And God's like, okay, how about you eat a salad for lunch today? No, I just prefer eating this bacon. Yeah, you're probably going to be sick a little bit longer, right?
I try to be really patient because, like I said, those are the people that need guidance the most.
Yeah.
If they had it figured out, they wouldn't need someone. Yeah. But you're right. Like they've just never thought about, well, why do I feel so sick? Well, are you going to the doctor? Are you taking care of your body? Are you putting things in your body that are nourishing you? Or are you putting things in your body that are going to make you feel like junk? If so, that's probably why you feel like junk.
Yeah. And I feel like we all being in this place of victim, and we always, every time we up level or we change something in our life, we fall into the same place, because every time you go from I remember when I start working and I was 16-year-old and I made minimum wage part-time, and then I remember that I bought my first car, and my first car was a 1994 Fiat, and that was in 2006. Okay, so it was not new. And half of the money I made would go to pay for that car payment. And like every time you go up and then you buy a house and then you buy a bigger house, like every time you go up, you'll find yourself in that position of victim again, because you have to change your mind. You got to be renewed, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and to go to the next level. So if a person who is listening to this or watching this today feel like, oh, I am in this position, I am the victim, like if they realize that they are in this position right now, I wanted them to not feel alone, because we all being in this position, and we all will go back to that position as life changes, right?
Oh yeah.
But then once you learn how to do the growth mindset and you learn how to deal with your own problems, you can resolve the issue faster, and you can go back and do some inner work and say, okay, what do I need to change, and how do I need to see, and what are the beliefs, like you said, the beliefs I have about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted them to know that there is light in the end of the tunnel.
Well, absolutely. And I think a lot of the times we think, well, once I get to here, then it'll be better. Once I make this much money, then life will be better. Once I meet this person, I'll be satisfied. And it's not the case. That's not how it works. And I am true testament to that, because I kept thinking, well, once I make this much money, then all the stars will align. Once I get this room finished in my house, then I'll feel like it's home. Once I, and I'm guilty of this every single day. I'm still 100%. I was just complaining to my sister about this 5 minutes before we started. And it's just not reality. I think it's being okay with where you are, understanding that none of these external factors control you. You can control how you feel about them and what that means. You can allow them to influence your actions, but those external factors don't get to decide anything.
Yeah. This is so good. And I love the mindset work. And I think like we cannot move into the tactics before we talk about mindset. But I think now we can talk about, like, for someone that is on a position right now that their money is controlling them, that they are listening to this and they're feeling like, okay, I do blame the economy, the president, my job, or whatever, so I must be in this victim mindset. What is one step you can suggest to that person to take and to flip their mindset before we can go into some tactical steps?
I would say, if even before that, there's probably some people that we've triggered already. If you're the person that's feeling like almost
I want to turn this off.
No, yeah, if they're like offended, or if they're like, that's not true, like if you're getting a rise out of what we're talking about, that may be because you're the victim. And trust me when I say, like, I got heated, like physically, face was hot, palms are sweaty, when someone said I was in a fixed mindset, or I thought I was a victim. Like, I was very offended. I didn't agree with it, but it was the truth. And there's a book by Brene Brown called Atlas of the Heart, where she explains there's all these different types of feelings. And she said, like, on average, we could ask somebody, like, what are the feelings that you feel? And there's like 5 feelings, right? There's happiness, there's anger, there's worry, there's, like, there's those standard feelings. Yeah. But turns out there's like over 250 some feelings identified. And a lot of the times we misinterpret how we're feeling. Like, we thought we were angry, but turns out we were just insecure, or we thought that we were feeling whatever it was. And so what I like to remind people of is you get to choose how you feel. So if you're feeling triggered, if you're feeling almost like offended by what we're talking about, that could be because this is an opportunity. This is something pulling at you saying, yes, I'm tired of living in this place. And that feeling of offensiveness could actually be, I'm ready to take that next level.
Yeah.
And so the first, like, tactic that I would say is just remember, like, money's neutral. It is absolutely neutral. It doesn't have a feeling. How you feel is what's going to determine the steps that you take. But money doesn't feel good. Money has zero power. You are the one that's in control of all of that. And so I would say that would be the very first thing to think about is how are you feeling right now? Take a second to just really think about how are you feeling. And if it is anything that you think is a negative thing, why is it that you're thinking that?
Yes, and I love that you said money's neutral. Do you see, and I'm sure you see, we talked a little bit about this, and I see a lot people of faith that believe that money is evil. And I've talked a lot about this for the people who follow me on social media before. But with your coaching and all your Dave Ramsey and all your experience, really, usually I just talk how I feel. I don't have an organization to talk like the way that I talk, a strategy to talk. So with your coaching experience, what would you say to a person that grew up believing that money is evil, a person that usually is a person of a specific religion, specific faith? What would you say to them?
I would probably, there would be a lot of conversation that happened right before that, right? So I want to always be in a place that I am the neutral, right? So like it's not about me when I'm coaching someone, it's absolutely about the client.
Yeah.
And so, if we get to the point where they're like, well, I don't want to make too much money because I don't want to be viewed as evil, or that's a bad thing, I'll get cursed if I have too much money, or people will think I'm misinterpreting, whatever it is, whatever bad juju you've got tied to money, I would say, again, money is neutral. People have the power over the money, and they are choosing what to do with that money. And so it's the person that is either using that money for good or using that money for not good. And so I would just like to say, like, God put money on this earth as a resource for us. It's what we choose to do with that. And that's with anything, not just money. I mean, that's with our conversations. That's with our tangible items. That's with whatever it is that you could possibly, our time, our energy that we're putting out there, whatever it is, how we're treating other people. Like, we get to choose how we do that. We get to choose every single interaction that we have. It can either be a positive or a negative one, how we choose to treat people. Money is the exact same way. It is a thing that we get to choose what we do with it. Money doesn't have the choice.
Exactly. And I am a Bible nerd. And the quote that if you come from a Christian background and you're listening to this, what is quoted a lot is the verse, money is the root of all evil, which that's not how the verse goes. Is the love of money is the root of all evil. And if you look in the original text, it's the love of mammon is the root of all evil. So translated to English, mammon is translated as money, but mammon is actually on the original language. In Hebrew, it is the name of a demon that convinces you that you do not need God, that you can trust your resources. So, for a lack of better word, it was translated to English as money. But mammon can convince you that you don't need God because you have your home to protect you from rain or from the weather, or you have food in your pantry to protect you from being hungry, or fill in the blank. I've caught myself many times trusting that if my kids were with me, they were safe. And every time they would go somewhere with someone, or I would take them in public and I would lose sight of them. Or when I first time that I had to put my daughter into the school bus, I completely lost it because they were not with me and I didn't have the control of that situation. And then I felt God telling me, like, this is also mammon, has nothing to do with money, but you are trusting on you instead of trusting on me. And I think people misuse that scripture and misunderstand that scripture to support the gospel of poverty. But really, that's not what that scripture is saying. That has nothing to do with the money, but actually trusting the resources that you have instead of trusting God, the creator, right?
I'm so glad that you took the time to really break that down, because you're right. Insert anything into that word, right? So replace the word money with, like you said, self-care. Replace money with somebody else, right? So like, I'm putting the trust into somebody else before God. That's idolatry. And you're allowing that thing to control you. Money could be the same thing. Like, that person can be used for good or evil. That thing can be good or bad, whatever it is. And money could be the exact same way.
Yeah. So I think we got a lot of here. And if you find yourself in a place where you're like, I need to go back and listen to this and kind of get a notebook and journal and pray about it,
yes,
please do. But before we stop, I want Kacee to give 3 tactical tips. Like, somebody is in a place where they're like, okay, I'm going to work on my mindset, or I'm working on my mindset. I'm reading all the books. I have books that I'm going to put in the show notes. I'm going to put the books that you mentioned, and then we can put more books there if you like to read about that. There's a lot of books on money mindset, but then the person is ready to like physically do something with their money. Like, what is the suggestion? What is the tips you have for people to like take that extra step? Like once they get their paycheck, you lead the Financial Peace University, you do personal coaching. Like what is the like 3 things that you recommend that you know that can help most people in their situation?
Absolutely, strategy is the first thing. So like if we're talking specifically money, which again, I coach people on mindset in general and taking steps and processes in general. But if we're talking about money, I would say the very first thing is to figure out what your money situation looks like. Like legitimately, what's your income and what's your outgoing, right? Like, so really putting a name to it. And there's a lot of resources out there as far as budgets go, but anybody could reach out to me and I would be more than happy to lead them down a couple of different options to explore what's best for them, because everyone, it's nothing is cookie cutter, especially money. I mean, yes, there's income and then there's outgoing money, but the way that we handle that, our bills are all different. When we get paid, you know, some people are biweekly, some people are monthly, some people are yearly. It just, some people are, you know, ad hoc. It's all over the place. So,
and also really managing money has a lot over the personality. Like I have an amount of money that I budget as a guilt-free money. If I, whatever I want to do with that money, if I want to buy a $17 coffee, I will do it because it's my like I.
But know you put a strategy together.
But I know that for some people this is scary, like that they need. And my husband is one of those people, so he's like every penny he needs to know where it's going. We also went to the Financial Peace University years ago, but I am too much of a free spirit, so I need to have like an amount of money where I am not gonna need to keep receipts. And so really you're working with the person and the person first understanding where they are, how is their personality, will also help them create this budget. And I don't like the word budget because I'm too free spirit for budget, but it creates
confining, doesn't it?
Create this strategy. I prefer way better this strategy. Create this strategy where they can put like what they're making. And
I would say first of all, start with the strategy of let's just look at our picture, right? And if that's with money, it is, let's look at what our income and our outgoing is.
And that's
the first step.
Like I remember the first time I did this on Financial Peace University, and I was like,
"Oh, it is scary. It is almost like a slap in the face sometimes. It's like, did I spend that much money on Amazon?
Yes.
Turns out that's why I'm broke.
Yes.
So I would say start with figuring out your budget, and then the next thing I would say is if you are feeling stuck. At that point, bring a third party in. That's where a lot of coaches come in. It could be specifically a mindset coach. It could be a money coach. It could just be someone that is really good at finances and just say, hey, I need some guidance on how do I make this work? Just don't be afraid to ask for help. I would say that would be the second thing.
Okay, I do want to say something about that. If you are asking for help, and I've been in the situation where I was like, oh, I'm already broke. I put all this money on this in this paper and I don't have any extra. I cannot hire somebody. I'm just going to ask my cousin or my so-and-so that is an accountant or whatever. If you're going to get help from someone that is not a professional financial coach, only accept help from people who are financially where you want to be.
and I would be very hesitant to ask for help from friends or family.
Yeah.
I mean, I really would. I would get a very neutral third party.
Yeah, because a person who is not where you want to be will not give you the guides, and a person that is not prepared with the education, like you took years of coaching education, and like if you are not prepared with the education, you already won't be able to give. Because what I found is when I went to family members, they usually just tell me what to do. They're working for them. You have to do this. And then I do it and it doesn't work. And they're like, well, I'm having problems with this, but it worked last year. Well, things change.
Well, and they're emotionally invested in it as well.
Yeah. So I am a big believer in coaching. Every time I paid for coaching, I got tenfold of what I invested. So if you are in that position, I would highly recommend paying for help. But if you still have to work into your mindset to accept paying for help. Do not go to people that are really close to you, friends and family, that will tell you what to do. Look for, like Kacee said, somebody neutral that will not have emotions connected to how you're spending your money.
Well, and I think to add to that point, a lot of the time when someone says, I can't afford to pay someone for coaching, I will take a look at their budget and just say, you know what, let's just take a look at your budget. No strings attached. Like, let's just look there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times they've spent more on stuff that they didn't need than what the coaching would have cost, right? So like, let's just say coaching cost X amount of dollars. And then I look at their budget and they say that they're completely maxed out and then they owe some. Well, they're paying for Netflix. They've spent money on things that they didn't need at the grocery store, like junk food. It's not nourishing their body. They're not really intentional with what that money's being spent on. They have DirecTV. They are, they have a car that's $40,000 and they're making payments. It's like, you can't pay your light bill, but you have a $40,000 vehicle. And like you said, you had a 10-year-old car, and it's like, that car got you from A to B. Barely. So is that the mind? Well, you see what I'm saying? Is it the mindset that you really don't want to make the change because it's scary and it's uncomfortable? Or is it because you actually don't make enough money to meet? And if so, where can we start trimming that budget?
Yeah, and
so that's why I say that's the very first place to start.
Yeah, and like I said, we are all in this position because I struggle with that into groceries. Mm-hmm. We have a big family. There's 5 of us in the house. The kids, even though they're small, they're just snacks and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And my husband's always like, oh my gosh, we spend so much money in the grocery store. And I say, okay, so let's buy less in the grocery store and let's eat out some days in the week because we are busy. Like, he works out of town and I'm working and 3 kids and there's always stuff going on. And he's like, well, we're going to eat out and it's going to be way more expensive. So then he goes to the grocery store, buy a bunch of food, leaves all in the refrigerator. The week happens. We do not have time to cook. This food go bad, has to be thrown in the trash. And we still have to go out and eat because we're going home at 7:30 at night and it's not going to have time to cook dinner and feed the kids and so forth. So we spend twice because we are afraid of really planning and say, okay, so just 3 days this week, we are not going to have time to cook.
Yeah.
We're just going to grab something. Even though it is a little bit more expensive, it's the strategy. It goes back to the strategy, like knowing where you're going to spend your money and then accept that that's what works for you, right?
I think we can think of one positive thing that came out of the last couple of years, especially for those who live in rural communities, is we couldn't just drive to town and go out to eat. Like, that wasn't an option. So there were a lot of people who were working at home, making food at home. And so I would say to you, like, I challenge you to start thinking about what crock pot meals that you can take one day a week and create 4 or 5 like meal prep them or plan them out. And it's like, you have that time. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a mindset thing again.
That's my limited belief.
And I'm the same way. Like, I absolutely can find the time because if I look on my phone and I look at the screen time that I've spent on certain apps, it's like, oh, I could have taken the time that I spent on TikTok actually prepping for this week. And so it's like, what can I do today that's going to set myself up for this next week and be successful, be productive, make sure that my time management is on point? Because if I'm trying to figure out, well, not only do I need to take on a second job to meet my bills, I don't have the time to meal prep then. So I have to eat unhealthy. And so that's why I say they're all intertwined. It's like, I'm busy because I'm trying to pay these bills off because I've got 2 jobs. Yeah. So therefore I have to eat unhealthy. I have to go through the drive-through. But let's take a look at what your calendar actually looks like too. So like, same thing. Some people who are struggling with money, we look at the budget. People who are struggling with time management, let's look at what your actual day consists of, because I guarantee you, you're spending time on things that you don't need to be spending time on, which you could have been using that time to do something to set yourself up to have an easier week or less stressful or whatever it is. So
I read a research and I mentioned that yesterday. I was actually live on Instagram and Facebook, and the research said that the average American watch 4 hours of TV a day. And I mean, that's a lot of hours in my opinion.
We'll just see how many meals you could have prepped.
But save money for 2 weeks.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
No more fiat for Fernanda.
Yes. No. And I think one more. So I had something in my mind now, but it went away. So
okay, well, we were talking about the 3 tips. So the first one was money is neutral. 2, people have the power to choose how they want it to go. And then 3, money is available. There are ways to make money. There are ways to be productive. There are ways to, like there are strategies that exist out there, but that's where a lot of people get stuck. Okay, great. We understand money's neutral. Okay, great. I know I can make the decision on how I feel about it. But now it's like, now I'm stuck. Now I'm feeling like, okay, well, what do I do about it though? I know I need to do something. And then that's where a coach would come in handy is I need someone to hold my hand through this, to guide me. I want to learn the lesson. I want to do the work because I want to see the results in my life. Yeah. But I need someone to help hold me accountable. I need someone to help me introduce new tools and new resources that maybe I haven't explored before and help me get over that fear or those obstacles that I'm kind of like feeling, right? So like I've tried a strategy before. I've tried to meal prep before. I've tried to budget before and they never worked. So why even try it again? Well, if you have a coach, we can kind of tailor those tools or those conversations to help you. Oh, here's why this didn't work before. Yeah. Because of XYZ reason. And I'm a third party. I'm very neutral. I can see things that maybe you've, like you say, like if you're working on a project and you've read something over and over and over again, you almost become numb to what you're seeing. Yeah. Having a coach come in, they're like, here's a new way of looking at this. It's like, oh, yeah. Like, you have like those different things that when you're at the eye doctor where it's like, is one better or 2 better? Is one better or 2 better? And then they just keep changing them to get the right thing that works for you.
Plus you work with so many different people that you can see what already worked for somebody else that had similar mindset, that had similar issues. Yeah. And I think this is the time, and like we are living on a generation that has more opportunity to make money than ever before.
So creative.
Like, yeah. Like with the internet, the amount of people that I personally know who resell things on eBay, on Amazon. I've heard so many stories of people who flip garage sale items on eBay. And when you find I cannot, I hate going garage sale.
Me too.
It's not my thing. But there are a lot of people that love, my husband loves, my mother-in-law loves, your sister Danielle. So Danielle that works with us here at Eden is Kacee's sister. That's, so Danielle loves garage sale too.
And I hate garage selling. And I hate it.
I know a lot of people who go in garage sales and find, like my mother-in-law, she finds furniture that if you would go to a furniture store, you would pay $8,000 and she gets them for $200.
I don't need any new furniture. Yeah. So why am I going to go look for furniture if I don't need it? You know what I'm saying? No, like that's the thing. It's
I don't like to go, but at the same time, this can be an opportunity to make money. Yes. If you like to go in yard sales.
But that's a growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, growth. Or if you have a fixed mindset, garage selling is, you're going to go and you're going to see an item, you're going to get in love with it, and you're going to hoard it and then never use it. It's going to be tucked in a garage somewhere. But if you have that growth mindset. If you have the
growth mindset, you can use that and you can sell those things and make so much money. And if you look at through the internet, there's a lot of people, a lot of the newest generation, even younger than us, the Z generation that are making more money. That's why it's so hard to find people to work now, entry level, because they're making more money in the internet flipping garage sale items than at a minimum wage job. So I think we got to challenge ourselves to think like we are in a time, in a generation with the internet, with social media, that there is so many opportunities to make money on the side. Like if you are one of those people that do watch 4 hours of TV a day, if you take just one day and get 4 hours a week, what would you be able to do to make a little bit more money to add it to your budget? So I can think of many ideas. Can you think of some ideas?
Even if you're like, I just love watching TV, right? If that's just your thing, find a way to get paid to watch that TV, review TV shows. Like you can be an editor, like be that person that writes reviews online.
We were just talking about how hard it is to find somebody to edit this podcast, this videos.
Or doing transcripts, right? So people get paid to do closed captioning on TV shows, right? Yeah. So, if you have someone who's hard of hearing and they have the words at the bottom of the screen, people get paid to watch a TV show and then type up what they're hearing.
Yeah.
So if TV is your thing, find a way to make money doing it.
Yeah, there is a website called Fiverr, and I just want to throw a few ideas out there. If you're listening to and you're like, I want to make more money, I want this growth mindset. There's a website called Fiverr that you can sell services. And you can sell a video of you recording, somebody sell a product, they can send you the product, you can record the video, and they will pay you for that.
Yeah.
Or they will, people are paying people for... I'll pay somebody to cook my crock pot meal.
And those, I did. I bought a lasagna and breakfast burritos from a gal because I was like, I'm not a breakfast person, but my husband wants breakfast. And, it's just I don't want to cook for him and he doesn't really want to cook. And we're just tired of box cereal. So I paid for her to give us a lasagna and some breakfast burritos. Yeah. And it was worth it for me because I'm trying to get freezer meals ready to go.
Yeah.
And it has been nice. I can just grab a breakfast burrito, pop it in the microwave, and I'm I can hit the road. Right. Yeah. And I'm so tired of cooking right now. I don't want to stand in front of this big old belly. First of all, I'm standing like this over the stove and my feet hurt and I don't want to cook. So I'm trying to prepare myself. And it's not only am I helping another entrepreneur who has the side gigs because she's trying to pay off her bills, I'm supporting her versus the local grocery store.
Yeah.
So I'm benefiting both of us because of my time management. I don't want to spend my time over the stove. So I'm purchasing this good. It's in my budget. I know I'm available to do this. She's got it ready to go. I'm helping her. It's just let's just be really strategic. And like I said, if you're the type of person that my mind just went somewhere else, but I was trying to think of the growth versus the fixed mindset and the victim mentality, right? There's so many opportunities out there. But if you're that person, it's I guess the economy just really stinks right now. It's that is an excuse.
Yeah.
Because people are selling pictures of their feet and making billions of dollars. It's an opportunity.
There is always an opportunity. Exactly. Yes. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, what can I do? There was already several ideas. You want to send me a DM, I'll pay for your food because I need somebody cooking for me. And I am very much of a person that I do not like to do things that does not bring me joy. Yes. So if cooking does not bring me joy, I'm going to find a way to put in the budget that I need to either have somebody cooking for me or buy food. My food budget has to be a little bit bigger so I can buy freezer meals or things. And I love eating natural food. So when I'm buying those meals, I'm not going to Walmart and buying the $1 lasagna. I am buying the gluten-free vegan cheese. And because that's important for me. So I have to put that in the strategy and make sure that I have the money separated to do that. And then I may be I don't care for cars. It doesn't bother me that my car is not the brand new car. And I have a million kids. So a van is much easier. And my van is not new, but it does a great job. My kids can eat all their snacks in the van and I'm not worried about my seats and this or that. So instead of me buying another car and put the money there, I prefer to spend money on good, healthy food. So I think we got to make those decisions. Some people may love car and don't care for food, and they do the opposite. Yeah. So you got to kind of find where you are and strategize, right?
Well, and like I said earlier, this is an everyday decision. So every single day, every single week, every single month, you're going to have to start new every single month on your budget, right? Yeah. So if I know this month, is going to have Christmas in it, then I know, okay, if I want to spend X amount, which I really suggest planning your budget out months in advance. Don't wait till December to decide you want to buy Christmas presents. I would slowly put $10, $15, $20 into a Christmas budget months in advance and then slowly build that category up. I can work with you individually on those kinds of tips. But what I would say is, if you know that month is going to have a birthday or that month something's going to be higher, like in the winter time, it's colder here. So our electric bill may be higher. So we know to plan extra money towards a certain budget a month, then we know, okay, I'm not going to be able to go shopping. So if my budget for my electric is going to be $100 higher, I'm not going to be able to go buy a new shirt or what, just, that there's going to be some flexibility. And when you have that strategy or budget in place, what that money is going to look like. You're not caught with a surprise of like, why am I all of a sudden short on my bills? So just being really proactive and understanding like, oh, okay, here's what I can expect. And the planning part of it is the fun part for me. And so to be able to
that's
say,
your zone of genius.
I love planning. I could get stuck. And that's also my fault too, because I get stuck in the planning to plan and not take the action part. Yeah. So I have to make sure. And I do
that too. I think you're very visionary too. I think that's the personality type. People that are big picture visionary. I love to plan, but I hate executing.
Well, and I hired my own coach. I mean, that's how strongly I feel about investing in a coach is I want these things for my life and my family and my future family, like as we have kids and grandkids, like what's the legacy that I want to leave behind? I don't want to leave them with piles of debt. I don't want to leave them with stress. I want to leave them with things that they can have an enjoyable life and use those resources for good without having to worry about anything. Yeah. And so, what am I doing today to make life easier on myself? What am I doing today to make life easier and teach my kids? I don't want the generational trauma to continue. I want to teach my kids how to manage money. I want to teach my kids how important it is to know, okay, if I have a plan with my money, I'm going to be less stressed in this area, which doesn't put strain on my marriage, which doesn't put strain on my job, which means like I can actually do a job that I enjoy rather than staying somewhere because of the income that I'm making. Like it opens up the opportunity in so many more areas of your life.
Yeah. And before we close, I want to, when you were talking about the generational thing, it made me think for the people of faith that are still struggling. And if you made it all to this 46 minutes and you are struggling, I congratulate you because I know this talking about money is a hard conversation. And here on this Recharge and Center, we are all about letting go of toxic, like self-care. The real self-care is not eat the cake, it's not the bubble bath, as much as I love bath products.
And cake.
But it's real self-care is letting go of toxics, whether it's your toxic belief or your toxic habits. And money is a big part of it. Money is actually the number one stressor and cause of mental health issues in America. And break couples, divorces, and money is a very important part on our personal mental health and our self-care, right? So that is why we are talking about this topic here in the first place. But for the people of faith that are struggling to let it go of the money is evil belief, what Kacee said of generations and generations, the Bible talks about a wise man leave an inheritance for the children of their children. So if you're a person of faith and you believe what the Bible is saying, you have to remember that it's also our job to work on this so we can leave a legacy and take people away from oppression, whether they are in our family line or people that we can help. I mean, we have to be able to help other people too. The money we make is not just for us, right? It's to be shared. And so that is one thing that I want to say before we go. A wise man leave an inheritance for the children of their children. And one more thing, and I don't know if you do that, if you do find that a lot, but I feel like women especially have a harder time with money than men do. Do you find that on the people you coach?
I feel like, just in my experience, that a lot of the time the men are a little bit more, we'll just tackle it when the need arises. And the women typically are, hey, I know I need to have a plan, but I also am juggling a million things. And this is just from the clients that I've worked with and that experience. I'm not saying that's standard, but that's what I have found is there's a lot riding on the women to manage, the finances, to manage the kids, to manage. There's just so many things that they're juggling. And I tend to find that the men are just like, we know that there's a problem, we're going to solve it, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to move on.
And I think, and I think women subconsciously believe that they cannot make more money than a man, and culture kind of, there is a pay gap and there is a cultural issue. But once again, I believe that it's all back to our mindset, because I know many of women that are making a lot of money, right? So for the women that think that they should not be working, I see that a lot in faith groups that I'm part of it, that the man needs to be the one paying all the bills, and the man needs to be in charge, and the woman should not be in charge of the money or making the money. I want to remind everybody that the Proverbs 31 woman was actually a business owner, and it talks about her making money more in the Proverbs 31 that talks about her being a wife or a mother.
Okay, I'm so glad. we may need a part 2 here, but I love this so much, because I mean that's how our dynamic is in my marriage, and I find that so ironic, because there was a guilt associated with that. Yep. And then it's like, did I just demasculate my husband because maybe I make more than he does, or he's home with our kid more often in certain seasons of our marriage? And I just think that is a mindset.
Yeah.
We are both equal contributors to our family in different ways. Sometimes I'm more of this and he's more of that, or he's, whatever it is. And that's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
The money is the neutral. It's how you're feeling about what that money is being put towards. And so again, that's something I coach people through. It just seems like everything in life in general, both personally and professionally, stems to money.
Yeah.
And how you're viewing it.
Yeah, it comes back to it. Well, I think we gave years of money mindset and training here in this almost a whole hour. So if they do want to learn more, how they can connect with you, how they can find you on social media, email, whatever you want to share, so people can learn more and more and kind of go through their development in this area.
Yeah, so Kacee Bohle is my name. I'm found on social media as Cornbelt Kacee, Kacee, and then you can visit my website at cornbeltcadence.com.
Yeah, and I will share everything on our show notes too, so it's easier for you guys to find it. But thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to share this with everyone, and I know it's going to help every single person that listens to it. They are going to have one or many nuggets that they're going to be able to take from this and use in their lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you.